Good morning. My name is William Lawson, and this is the Morning Report. The Morning Report is a production of fightbackmedia.com, 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 and fightbackmediatv.com. We are so glad you're here today. We got three things we want to talk about today for sure, and why you should be concerned and why you shouldn't. Why you really shouldn't give a crap about it. We hope that you are well, that you had a great weekend. Um, The goal this week is to get a show in every day. And you might have noticed that we're doing more things. I mean, inserting some other videos that aren't morning report videos that are getting into the mix. I said that we were going to post on the morning report channel. We have a morning report YouTube channel now that's just going to be morning reports. Going to be moving some of those videos or some new videos, hopefully starting next month, over to that channel. Some of them will end up here. Actually, all of them will end up here, and the others will end up over there. That way, we can have two channels that have strikes at the same time because we are just overachievers like that. Whew. Anyway, again, hope you are well this glorious day, and we'll be back right after these messages. So, is it okay now? Because it was, during the Trump administration, it is okay to talk about the president's.
Yeah, we talked about mental health elderly, so let's talk about this guy's mental health.
The president's mental acuity, because there's sometimes where it seems to be lacking. Have you seen?
Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes it's especially bad. I mean, I'm talking about sometimes it's like really bad. Like, have you seen the picture?
I was told not to take any questions.
I was told not to take any questions. They're going to be mad at me.
They're going to be mad at me.
Mr.
President, are you the president or were you five?
You see, what I want. See, the next question is, excuse me,
I was told to call on what you call for NBC. Who's telling you to call on?
That's the question that we ought to be asking. Who's telling you this?
I mean, I don't understand why nobody won't ask that question.
Is Jen Psaki actually the president?
Who's telling you to call on these people in the media?
Is Jen Psaki actually the president?
Probably so.
Living in Florida has proven to be actually way cooler than I would have ever expected it to be. One of the things now is, of course, we have the dude, Ron DeSantis, is our governor. And the day that the governor signed the bill stripping Walt Disney World of their special governing powers status into law, and that was in the Reedy Creek district, where it was weird. It was this private company that in this area, which is a large area, millions of acres, got to do whatever they wanted to do. They could have. It was like their own country almost. They could have been sacrificing virgins, and that they could have been doing golly anything really, out of the eye of everybody else. Their own law enforcement, their own laws, everything really. Now, did they do all that? I don't know. Wouldn't put it past them, would it? Anyway, in an excerpt from the governor is releasing a book. Now, what does that normally mean? I don't know. Maybe. The name of the book is The Courage to Be Free: Florida's Blueprint for American Revival. Reveals the advice the Sunshine State's Republican leader gave to Disney's since ousted CEO Bob Chapek that could have saved him a lot of trouble, maybe even his job. This was obtained first by Fox News Digital. The chapter diving into DeSantis' dealing with Chapek and the Walt Disney World Company reveals that as the controversy over parental rights in the education bill was coming to a head, Chapek called him. He did not want Disney to get involved, but he was getting a lot of pressure to weigh in against the bill. DeSantis says in his book. It's notable that Chapek, at least in his conversation with DeSantis, expressed that he didn't want to bring the company into the conflict with DeSantis, and more notable, given the fact that he ultimately decided to throw Disney into back-to-back political battles, he saw Chapek lose both and then his job. Now, before we go on with that story, Um, what I think a lot of people don't understand, or maybe are starting to understand, is that in the entertainment business, there is a large LGBTQ contingent. Now, when I say entertainment, I just don't mean Hollywood, because yes, there's a lot of Hollywood for sure. Um, but I'm telling you, I've spent some years in the theme park industry, and there is a fairly large, and I think it's because it's primarily entertainment, a fairly large LGBTQ contingent in the theme park industry as well. And if you ask me why that is, I don't know. I don't know. I don't have any idea. And no, and I'm not gonna fathom a guess. I don't know. I don't have any idea. Um, but there is. And especially in a city like Orlando. In Orlando, you have, of course, the Walt Disney World parks, and then you have the SeaWorld park parks. They have two. They have SeaWorld and Aquatica, and then you have Universal, and then not far from there, Legoland. So you have them all concentrated in this fairly large city. People don't realize how big Orlando is. Orlando has a lot of people. And Orlando, along the I-4 corridor, is fairly, Orange County is a fairly blue district, a blue area. So there are a lot, and the entertainment industry is huge there, and the hospitality industry is monstrous there. And there's a large LGBTQ contingent in those industries. I don't know why there is, but there seems to be. Now, if you think I'm wrong, go ahead and write in the comments that I'm making a generalization, and I'm going to tell you I'm making a generalization. I am making a generalization. So Chapek was going to get some instant pushback, some instant push into getting into a windmill battle with the governor and the Republican leadership in Florida, over this parental rights bill that had been deemed by media the "Don't Say Gay" bill. Ooh, that's all people needed to know. Oh, don't say gay, but it doesn't. But if you go to fightbackmedia.com and scroll down to the bottom, you can read the bill yourself. I have left it there for months on end, and I think it's going to stay there as long as we until the guy becomes president, which is probably going to happen. Um, that way, you can read it yourself, and you can direct people there who tell you it's something other than it is, and they can read it themselves. It's only 7 pages, big type, 7 pages. So it's interesting that, not surprising that Chapek was sort of forced into it when he wanted to just stay out of it, because frankly, Disney was having a bunch of regular old theme park challenges, especially coming out of COVID, that all the other theme parks were having as well. All of them, all the ones I mentioned, plus Six Flags, all the independent ones around the country were having similar challenges. And he had his hands full with just that. What he didn't need to do was dive into another area. Did not. He needed to dive into another area. So Chapek told DeSantis, according to DeSantis' book, that Disney's get, quote, pressured all the time, but said that the brewing outrage based entirely on a leftist smear of the bill was, quote, different. I have never seen anything like this before, according to what DeSantis writes in his book. Correctly, DeSantis recounts his advice to Chapek that included saying that there would be a limited periods of outrage from the woke mob when the bill passed Florida legislation. And again, when DeSantis signed the parental rights bill, but it would be just about 48 hours of outrage, and it'd be mostly online, which is the truth. It's how the left is operated. Uh, there's 2 days like Chicken Little where the world's coming. I mean, the sky is falling. The sky is falling, and most of that is online. Most of the time, it's not at your place. And I'm sure that that's what Chapek was hoping wouldn't happen, that people wouldn't show up at the place, at the gates, that his employees wouldn't decide to go off script. Um, and he was worried about that. And I think he was under a lot of pressure because of all the other stuff I just mentioned. Ticket prices, guest experience in the park, all sorts of things were going on there that he was, I mean, he had to come to work in asbestos underwear because there was lots of fires to put out at Disney about all sorts of things every single day. And then he said, DeSantis writes, then there'll be some new outrage that the woke mob will focus on, and people will forget about this issue. DeSantis also writes of the advice that he gave Chapek, especially considering the outrage is directed at a political media narrative, not the actual text of the legislation itself. DeSantis is right on that point too. The outrage mob moves from target to target like locusts from field to field, and just waiting out a few days of Twitter activism that would have left Disney unscathed compared to what happened when Chapek took the bait and jumped into the political firestorm, not having his asbestos underwear, without fully considering what could happen. As we all know now, Chapek ignored DeSantis' advice, gave to the mob's demands, and to come out publicly against the parental rights bill, and then doubled down with the pledge that Disney would pursue legal challenges to the legislation after it was passed and signed into law by DeSantis. Chapek's embrace of the woke mob and escalating the war on Florida Republicans then saw DeSantis pursue a bill to strip Disney World of its self-governing status in the Reedy Creek district, an effort that was successful and eventually caused Disney to oust Chapek and replace him with former CEO Bob Iger. Now, and I don't want conservatives and Republicans and people who view this podcast to get the wrong idea. This was not the only reason that the board replaced the new Bob with the old Bob. Ticket prices, guest experience, everything happening in the parks was going to crap too. It wasn't like Disney was riding on top and this thing happened and then they had to get rid of Chapek. Disney was struggling. It was doing this. And then instead of concentrating on that, Chapek decided that he would add some more BS on top. And it just went out of control. It was out of control like this. And then it went out of control sideways. And Chapek had to go, according to the board. The winner in the whole affair was clearly Florida Republicans. After all this happened, the people who came out on the other end smelling like a rose are Florida Republicans, namely Ron DeSantis, who sailed to victory in the 2022 election by almost 20 points. And in this day and age, 20 points, 20 percentage point win is a butt whipping of epic proportions. So Disney found out, and other businesses are starting to find out that if it doesn't concern you directly, and you cannot participate, then it's probably better that you don't. Disney also forgot that they had, what do they call them? They don't call them employees, cast members, what they call them, that agreed with the governor. And quite a few cast members that agree with the governor. That only some of their cast members were complaining. And I'm going to say a majority of their cast members. Now, if you have evidence to the contrary of what I just said, please write it in the comments. But a majority of their cast members were like, we should just stay out of it. People can have their own personal opinions. People can do whatever they want with their kids. Now, if you disagree with that, please just write it in the comments. Try to stay respectful. Don't swear and that kind of stuff. I guess you can attack me personally, but the chances of that comment being seen by humans, 0. If you attack me personally, if you're going to attack my idea, the chances of that being seen by other humans is 100%. 100%. If we can have a battle of ideas, no problem. But there you go. But this idea that Disney gets pressured all the time. And they do. Large companies get pressured all the time. People like Reverend Al has been an expert at going to companies and saying, if you don't do what we want you to do, then we will show up and show out and protest and cost you a lot of money. And they basically force companies into in the behavior that they want them to have all the time. So this kind of thing does happen. It's only problematical for me, especially when companies sort of become proactive on these things, because that is their company narrative and their company nature. That's the only time that I have a real trouble with it. Like Target deciding early, without any pressure really, that they're going to allow people who are trans to be in whatever bathroom or dressing room that they want. So that there is a potential that my 7-year-old daughter may end up in a changing room in a changing area, not next to a 72-year-old woman, but to a 34-year-old man. I don't want that. I don't want her to feel uncomfortable in an environment that she doesn't have to feel uncomfortable with. I don't, these schools and these school districts that decide, and I'm going to use trans for an example. I mean, for the example, so you can understand, where my high school daughter, who may be 14 or 15, has to be in a locker room, a girls' phys ed locker room, with a 16-year-old boy who's decided that he is a girl. I mean, a fully intact 16-year-old boy, and have her feel that level of uncomfort when there isn't any reason to. Sometimes we're in uncomfortable situations and there really isn't any choice. But in that particular environment, there truly is a choice. Do the thing that makes a lot more sense. You're a boy. You've got boy equipment. There you go. You're a girl. You've got girl equipment. Right there. End of story. Easy enough. The most people feel comfortable. The most people are okay. So when companies like Target make these decisions, and they really don't have that much pressure to make the decision one way or the other, then we got a problem. Well, it seems like in the governor's book, and we're going to talk about later this week, is this book just the big precursor and advertisement to the announcement that Ron DeSantis will be seeking the office of president? Could be. Learned today at breakfast while looking at the television over my friend's shoulder that Marianne Williamson has announced her bid to be president of the United States in 2024. If you don't know who Marianne Williamson is, we'll talk about that in a future broadcast. So we'll take a little break. We'll be back with more of the program right after these messages. A true blue conservative, small businesses are near and dear to your heart. They are the lifeblood of our life and economy. I believe this, and that's why my florist is not a website or phone number. My florist is Bloomingdale's Flower Shop, Tampa's premier flower shop. At 11618 North Florida Avenue here in Tampa, Florida, and at 6835 State Road 54 in Newport Richey. Call Christine at 813-933-1942 and at 727-232-6900. She can also be reached on the web at www.bloomingdays.com. Welcome back. My name is Willie Lawson, and this is the Morning Report. Morning Report is a collection of fightbackmedia.com, 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 and fightbackmediatv.com. All right, here's a dude that we don't have to worry about anymore. Paul Ryan. And some of you are going, where do I know that name from? Yeah, Paul Ryan for a minute was Speaker of the House. And he's a congressman out of Wisconsin. He said that even with the Republican National Convention being in Wisconsin this year, that if former President Donald Trump is the nominee, he's going to be a no-show. He is going to not be there out of protest of that Trump guy. Ryan made the comments during an interview with Milwaukee's WISN TV, said that he'd only attend if someone else was a GOP nominee. Come 2024, the Republican National Convention is in Milwaukee. Where will you be? The journalist asked. Ryan says this: it depends on who the nominee is. I'll be there if it's somebody not named Trump. This is such a shallow, insipid, moronic, foolish, stupid, inane, sophomoric BS approach and response ever. The reporter said, even in Wisconsin, so your home state, even in Wisconsin. Critics of Ryan said this was the best endorsement of the 45th president that Ryan could have given. Okay. Here's the deal. Ryan is attached to Romney forever. Romney is attached to Liz Cheney, Olympia Snow, Lisa Murkowski, John Boehner, John McCain. That wing, the Bushes, that wing of the Republican Party is dead. Mitch McConnell, Lindsey Graham, who knows what Lindsey Graham's all about? Jesus, right? But for now, think about this, folks, because you're smart. Most of you are grown-ups. In any organization, you have a dominant party, or you have a dominant group of people who are in leadership or basically been around for a while, who run everything. And sometimes if you stay in an organization long enough, that power shifts to a different group of people, right? This is the group dynamics of organizations, of parties, and the party is just an organization. And right now, those folks who are out of power are the people I just mentioned: the Paul Ryans, the Mitt Romneys, the Liz Cheneys, the John McCain. I know John McCain is dead. I know that. the John Boehners, and on and on and on, right? Lisa Murkowski, Olympia Snow, right? The Lincoln Project people out of power in the Republican Party. So now you have um, probably on the outside of this, you have the Marco Rubios, and as I move to the center, you have the Tim Scotts, you have the Ted Cruzes, you have the Rand Pauls, you have the Ron DeSantises, you have the Greg Abbotts, you have the Donald Trumps, you have the MTGs, right? So right now, they are the ascending people, and people who agree with them, who are now in charge, quote, end quote, of the organization. And so this idea that Paul Ryan, because the people that I mentioned that he's with are, quote, out of power, are all the things I said. It's childish. I'm just not going to play. I'm going to hold my breath till when? Did I? He doesn't work that way. Because, frankly, the people that I mentioned, the, quote, Trump people, or the people who are in charge now, don't want you to be there in the first place. They don't need you to be there in the first place. Now, at the same time, he's just saying this to get views and likes, right? Because he also doesn't believe that Trump was going to be the GOP nominee. So you're going to go to the convention and hang out until they pick a nominee? Or if you're going to go to the convention after everybody else is out, kind of like this time, or the last time when Trump won, it was kind of a coronation because there was no one left. Everybody else had gotten out by that. Trump was the last person standing. And he says this, I don't think that he'll be our nominee because we know we're going to lose with him, he said. He cost us the House in 2018. Stop. Because you guys watch this program and you listen to my podcast and you're smart as heck. What normally happens in the first term, especially the first midterm when a president is elected? What happens in the House normally? They usually lose control of the House, right? The other party grabs control of the House, right? Is that what happened? Yes. What happened to Biden? Lost control of the House. What happened to Obama? Lost control of the House. That's what normally happens. He cost us the Senate in 2020. No, he cost us the Senate again in 2022. He wasn't president in 2022. Something else cost Republicans the Senate in 2022. And I saw a video of mine the other day because I'm a narcissist and I love watching me because I'm like Chad Ochocinco. I love me some me. Um, I saw that in a short. I did a short that says that we don't believe you. And I'm sorry, I still don't believe that the citizens of Pennsylvania decided to elect a stroke victim as senator of their state over a cardiologist. I just don't believe it. Forget that cardiologist is, has a show on TV and the whole idea, Dr. Oz, and may indeed be a carpetbagger in that sense, or living in New York, moved to Pennsylvania to run for Senate. But I still don't believe that the citizens of Pennsylvania thought oh, this stroke victim is a better choice. I don't believe it. And neither do you. It's that kind of crap that costs Republicans the Senate in 22. Of course, Trump fired back when he didn't have to. And that's a Trump problem. What Paul Ryan is saying is so stupid. And again, so sophomoric, inane, insane, ridiculous. It doesn't even merit a response. But of course, Trump calls him a loser. And says Mitt Romney could have won had it not been for Paul Ryan. Wow. That's a statement. What do you think? Write that down in the comments. He says, I won twice, did much better the second time, and was 233 wins out of 253 races in the midterms. Did pretty good. Paul Ryan is destroying Fox and couldn't get elected dog catcher in the Republican Party, which is probably true. The RNC is scheduled to take place in Milwaukee from July 15th through 18th. No, I will not be there. I don't know if my friend Paul will be in or around there. I'd love for him to be, but it's expense. Milwaukee is 6 or 7 hours away from where he lives. I'd love for him to be there, but expensive. Now, if you'd like for Fight Back Media to be there and my friend Paul to be there in Milwaukee, and you're willing to start the drive, the financial drive to do so, just let me know. Just let me know. Send me an email at fightbackmedia@gmail.com, fightbackmedia@gmail.com, and we will set something up. No doubt. Until we see you again, go out there and learn. Go out there and learn some. What is it? Learn something, love somebody, and for goodness sakes, y'all take care of yourself. We will see you when we see you. Bye bye now.